Have you ever wondered why someone who once laughed with everyone suddenly goes silent, stops replying, and slowly disappears from people's lives without a fight or explanation? No drama, no goodbye, just distance. One day they are present, and the next they feel gone. Most people call it cold behavior. Some say it is arrogance. Others think it is weakness. But the truth is different. And if you stay with this video until the end, you will understand the real psychology behind why people cut everyone off. And you might even discover something important about your own life and relationships. The truth is, people rarely leave suddenly. Their exit is slow and invisible. At first, they try to fix things. They explain how they feel. They forgive mistakes. They give second chances, then third chances, then chances they don't even talk about. They stay loyal even when they feel ignored. They stay kind even when they feel disrespected. But every disappointment leaves a small crack inside them. Every broken promise adds weight. Every time they feel unheard, something inside grows tired. And while everyone around them thinks everything is normal, a silent storm is building inside their mind. Most people don't see this stage. They only see the moment someone finally pulls away. They don't see the nights spent thinking, "Why do I always have to understand everyone? But nobody understands me." They don't see the effort to keep peace. They don't see the emotional exhaustion from always being the strong one. Human psychology is simple in one way. When pain repeats, the brain searches for protection. And sometimes protection looks like distance. Silence becomes safer than explaining feelings again and again. Walking away becomes easier than begging to be valued. Some people are not heartless. They are heart-hurt. They are not angry. They are tired. Tired of being the one who cares more. Tired of fixing problems alone. Tired of feeling like an option instead of a priority. And when someone reaches that emotional limit, something changes. They stop arguing. They stop complaining. They stop chasing. Because deep inside, they realize that peace is more important than being accepted by everyone. And once someone learns how peaceful distance feels, it becomes hard to go back to chaos. This is why many quiet people suddenly disappear from groups, friendships, even families. Not because they hate people, but because they finally start loving themselves enough to protect their energy. Sometimes, the strongest decision is not fighting harder, but choosing calm over conflict. Walking away is not always weakness. Sometimes it is self-respect, waking up after being ignored for too long. And here is the part many people miss. Withdrawal is often the final step after trying everything else. Nobody cuts everyone off without first trying to hold everything together. They don't leave because they don't care. They leave because caring too much started hurting. Emotional survival becomes more important than social connection. And when peace finally enters their life, even loneliness feels better than constant disappointment. So before judging someone who became distant, remember something powerful: people don't disappear because they are cold. They disappear because their heart got tired of being hurt in silence. And sometimes stepping away from everyone is the only way someone learns how to breathe again. What makes this quiet withdrawal even more powerful is that most people never see the breaking point coming. From the outside, everything still looks normal. The person still shows up, they still smile, they still help when needed. But inside, something has already started shutting down. Because human beings can tolerate pain for a long time, especially when it comes from people they love or trust. Loyalty often keeps people in situations far longer than they should stay. Psychologically, people are wired to preserve relationships. We fear loneliness. We fear rejection. We fear losing connection. So instead of walking away, most people choose patience. They hope things will change. They tell themselves, maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe tomorrow will be better. Maybe I'm overthinking. And every time respect is missing or feelings are ignored, they swallow the disappointment and try again. But patience without change slowly turns into emotional exhaustion. The breaking point rarely comes from one big event. It comes from repetition, from being ignored too many times, from promises that never get fulfilled, from always being the one who understands while nobody tries to understand them. Trust doesn't shatter instantly. It erodes slowly. And once trust is gone, Connection starts fading even if people are still physically present. There comes a moment when a person realizes something painful, but freeing staying is hurting more than leaving. And in that moment, survival instincts take over. The mind stops asking, "How do I keep this relationship?" and starts asking, "How do I protect myself?" This shift is quiet, but it changes everything. Arguments stop, expectations disappear, emotional investment fades, and once someone emotionally detaches, their physical exit is only a matter of time. Many people mistake this moment for coldness, but in reality, it is self-preservation. When someone reaches emotional burnout, they are not trying to punish anyone. They are trying to save themselves. Because constantly feeling unappreciated damages confidence. Being taken for granted slowly kills self-worth. And no human being can thrive where they feel invisible. The strongest individuals are not those who tolerate endless pain. True strength appears when someone understands their value and refuses to stay where it is not recognized. Walking away becomes an act of courage, not anger. It means choosing mental peace over familiar chaos. It means understanding that loyalty should not mean self-destruction. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Many people only realize someone's worth after they leave, when the messages stop, when the help disappears, when the emotional support is no longer there. Silence suddenly becomes loud, absence becomes noticeable. But by then, the person who left has already learned a difficult lesson. Sometimes distance is the only way to stop being hurt. So when someone finally cuts everyone off, it is rarely impulsive. It is the final step after fighting silently for too long. It is what happens when hope runs out and self-respect finally speaks louder than fear of losing people. And once someone reaches that stage, going back becomes harder than walking away. Once someone finally steps away, something unexpected begins to happen. At first there is fear. Silence feels strange. The phone stops buzzing. Invitations slow down. Familiar conversations disappear. And for a moment, loneliness feels heavy. Many people almost go back during this phase. Not because the situation was healthy, but because the unknown feels scarier than familiar pain. Human psychology prefers known discomfort over uncertain peace. But if they hold on long enough, something powerful begins to grow. Mental noise starts fading. The constant pressure to please others disappears. There is no need to explain feelings again and again. No need to chase attention. No need to fight for respect. Slowly, clarity enters the mind. And in that calm space, people begin to hear something they ignored for years, their own needs. For a long time, many people live for approval. They adjust their behavior to be liked. They tolerate disrespect to avoid conflict. They stay available even when exhausted because they fear being seen as selfish. But cutting everyone off often becomes the moment someone finally chooses themselves. And this choice is misunderstood by many. People call it selfish. They call it pride. But in reality, it is self-respect finally taking control. Peace is addictive once someone truly experiences it. Sleeping without overthinking, waking up without emotional pressure, living without constant drama. These small changes rebuild confidence. The person who once begged to be understood now understands themselves. The one who feared being alone discovers strength in solitude. And the person who always prioritized others learns that their own happiness matters too. This distance also reveals an important truth. Not everyone was meant to stay forever. Some people are lessons, not lifelong companions. Some relationships only exist to teach boundaries, self-worth, and emotional strength. And when someone grows, certain connections no longer fit. Outgrowing people is painful, but it is also a sign of personal evolution. During this period, many rediscover parts of themselves they had buried. Old passions return. Dreams feel possible again. Energy that was once spent fixing relationships is now invested in personal growth. Confidence slowly rebuilds, and the need for constant validation disappears, because real validation now comes from within. The greatest transformation happens when someone realizes they don't need everyone to like them. They only need to respect themselves. And once that understanding becomes clear, their standards change. They no longer tolerate disrespect. They no longer chase attention. They no longer stay where they feel small. Peace becomes more important than popularity. Ironically, once someone stops seeking approval, They become stronger, calmer, and more attractive in every sense, because people are naturally drawn to those who value themselves. The person who once feared losing everyone now understands something liberating. Losing the wrong people creates space for the right ones. And in that realization, cutting everyone off no longer feels like loss. It feels like freedom. It feels like finally choosing a life where mental peace is protected, energy is respected, and self-worth is no longer negotiable. And after all the distance, the silence, and the personal growth, one final realization remains: every separation carries a lesson, not just for the one who left, but also for those who stayed behind. Because when someone cuts everyone off, it forces a question that many people avoid: what pushed them to that point? It is easy to blame the person who walked away. It is harder to look inward and ask whether they felt heard, respected, or valued. Many relationships don't collapse because of big betrayals. They collapse because of small neglect repeated over time. Messages unanswered, feelings dismissed, loyalty taken for granted, appreciation left unspoken, and slowly, the bond weakens until silence replaces connection. Human relationships survive on attention and respect. People stay where they feel safe, understood, and valued. When someone constantly feels like they must fight for basic respect, exhaustion replaces affection. And when appreciation disappears, presence eventually disappears too. No one enjoys leaving people they care about. But sometimes leaving becomes the only way to stop losing themselves. This is why the real lesson is not just about understanding why people walk away. It is about becoming someone worth staying for. A friend who listens, a partner who respects boundaries, a family member who appreciates effort. Because often, people don't need grand gestures. They need simple things: honesty, loyalty, and emotional safety. Many regrets in life come from realizing someone's value too late. When their support is gone, when their kindness is missing, when their presence is no longer available. Silence suddenly becomes heavy, and people wish they had paid more attention while they had the chance. But by then, the person who left has already learned to live without them. At the same time, there is also a message for those who chose distance. Cutting people off should not come from anger or ego, but from growth. Not everyone who hurts us deserves permanent removal. Sometimes conversations heal misunderstandings. Sometimes boundaries fix problems. Walking away should come after effort, honesty, and attempts to repair what matters. Because strong relationships are not built by avoiding conflict, but by resolving it with respect. The strongest path forward is balance. Value the people who truly care. Communicate before resentment grows. Set boundaries before exhaustion appears. Appreciate loyalty while it is still present. And never assume someone will always stay no matter how they are treated. Because the final truth is simple and powerful: people rarely leave suddenly. They leave slowly, after feeling unappreciated for too long. And once peace enters their life, convincing them to return becomes nearly impossible. So cherish the people who still choose to stay. Respect their presence. Listen when they speak. Notice their effort. Because one day silence might replace conversation, and by then, the chance to fix things may already be gone. In the end, cutting everyone off is not always about losing others. Sometimes it is about finally refusing to lose yourself. And the greatest wisdom we can learn is this: protect your peace, but also become someone who protects the peace of others.